Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture. This week we're talking about the Sasquatch series, speaker and power cables.
Those things are ridiculous looking. They're the beefiest cable I've ever seen in my life. They look like they belong to some sort of like industrial power transformer rig. Just gigantic thick plugs on them, gigantic thick cables. They look like they're going to last a million years. You have anything else to say about them, Steve?
Yeah, they come in Tech Flex.
Well, yeah, they come in Tech Flex.
That's always nice.
They're the most incredible looking speaker cables on the planet. Go check them out. I don't have any of those, but I do have some regular Sinusoid speaker cables. They were able to put together some custom lengths for me because I needed to have a really interesting cable setup for speaker cables when I was doing my amp journey last year. And they took good care of me, and those cables work great. Looking at those Bigfoot cables, I believe that they've got to be just the beefiest thing in the world. So if you're looking for a speaker cable,
Ryan, they're not Bigfoot cables; they're Sasquatch cables.
They're Sasquatch cables. Same animal. But if you're looking for, here's what I'm leading to.
How do you feel about Yetis?
Here's what I'm leading to. I always have trouble with like other speaker cables, like telling the difference between them and regular guitar cables. And it's like, yeah, you can like unscrew the cover and see like, oh, there's no shielding on it, and that's your speaker cable. But if you want a speaker cable that you know for sure is a speaker cable and not an instrument cable, you got to get that Sasquatch cable because it looks completely different from anything else you've ever seen in your life. Go check it out.
Head on over to sinusoid.com. Sinusoid Cables. They make cables.
And smiles. And they make you think there's a snake behind you. Hey, this is Ryan.
And this is Steve, and you're listening to 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar buying. I don't even know why I do this anymore.
Just read it, Steve.
It's just, I don't know if we took a break or what's going on with my head. Maybe, I don't know, but it's the guitar buying, selling, trading, fixing, modding, breaking, reviewing, playing podcast.
You need to incorporate the show intro into your Awanas game to get your memorization down, Steve.
Gosh. I don't do one anymore.
You don't?
No.
Oh, you're all done, huh?
I gave that up. I retired.
Retired. How long ago was that?
This year.
Oh, okay.
This is the first like club year that I haven't done it.
There you go.
Since forever.
Well, let's get into the regular show instead of talking about a children's Bible club.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey, what's new, Steve?
We got the Fenler actually turned on. I wouldn't say up and running.
The light turned on in the front, and we plugged it into a speaker cab, and it was making a hissing sound, and it produced a lot, and I mean a lot of heat. You could use this to warm up your room in the cold winter.
Yeah. When I went to turn it off, I was really worried that I was gonna like burn my fingers.
Well, I'm a little worried because you put some stuff back together in there with blue painter's tape, and it's really close to those tubes, and I'm like, is that stuff going to catch on fire?
Is painter's tape flammable?
Dude,
everything's
flammable if you get it hot enough.
Yeah, I know I've got painter's tape in there because the reverb tank was originally like affixed to this metal thing with like adhesive foam. Which is just like a piece of foam with like a sticky side.
Right.
And that stuff, because this amp is like 40 years old, that stuff completely disintegrated, and the reverb tank was just flopping around in there.
Oh man.
Which is why like the tubes got destroyed and whatever. So like I don't know, I still don't know, like that's my biggest question is I don't know if this thing was running before shipping, and the guy like who had it didn't test it.
Right.
And obviously it's way too late now for me to even like revisit that. But yeah, I think that reverb tank flopping around is what probably did a lot of the damage to the inside of the amp. So I just have it kind of like suspended in place with painter's tape so it doesn't flop around when I transport it. And it's secure-ish, I guess.
I just really love the look of this thing. I want it to work. I want to be able to hear it. But then I also, if it can't work, if it doesn't work, I kind of want something else to be rehoused into it because it's just too cool looking to not have a function.
I super go back and forth because like you brought it in here. Because of the way the circuit is laid out, both of the transformers are on the same side of the amp. So it's extremely top heavy.
This thing has a lot of transformers in it, and the transformers are huge.
Yeah, the output and power transformers on this thing are like, one of them is bigger than my fist.
And you got a big old fist, Steve.
I have a normal fist for a person who's 6'2". The other is probably about the size of like a fist. They're both very large, and they're both on the same end of the amp.
And then there's like two smaller transformers in there. They're
yeah,
like
one of them
size.
is like the reverb driver.
The other, and there's probably one for the vibrato.
I don't think there's. I mean, I guess there probably is some kind of vibrato circuit because there is a speed and intensity. I've heard on some of these amps that the speed and intensity knobs don't actually do anything. That the vibration channel is really just, or vibrator channel is really just reverb.
I love that it's called the vibrator channel too.
So I don't know because there's two different. I found at least two different deluxe reverb models from Fenler when I was doing research on this. But yeah, I don't know. I like the outside aesthetic. Part of me just wants to like gut it all, leave the knobs in place, and then put in like a pair of quilter amps. Like gut a quilter to like do floating. What do they call it? Is it floating leads? Is that what they call it?
I don't know what they call it.
When the instead of the pots being mounted to PCB, it's like wire, like hand wired. It's called floating something.
My idea was to put a Princeton in that vibrato slot,
right?
Because it's the right amount of knobs for it, and then either put like a Fender reverb unit on the top 3 knob section, or put like a Surfy Bear in there. And have like a surf rock head, but then like maybe not a Princeton, maybe like a deluxe reverb or something like that, or even a twin would be a good kit to throw in there to have a surf rock.
Well, I think if you wanted to do the dual circuit thing, you wouldn't want to do a twin. That's going to be too much circuit.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the classic surf rock amp is the deluxe Showman, but
right.
I don't know. Even a twin is way too much.
Well, twin and deluxe Showman are the same amp.
Right.
Or the same circuit.
Yeah.
You got anything new, dude?
I do have something new.
Oh yeah, what is it?
So I went and I re-impregnated my wife.
Yeah, I heard about this.
You heard about that?
From our friend's mom.
Oh, great. People out there like spoiling surprises, huh?
Yeah.
So what that means for me is obviously going to be a double dad. Like that's the exciting part about it. The other part about it is that all the rooms in our house are used right now, and one of them is in air quotes my music room.
Yeah.
And that's where I do the vast majority of my demo work.
Right.
I mean, we've already decided that like after having our first kid, he basically lived in our room for the first year, and his bedroom was just not needed.
Right.
So we've already decided that, like, we don't need to put together a nursery for this new kid just yet.
Yeah.
But eventually it's going to happen.
I mean, you could just eventually shove both kids into the same room.
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of small rooms. I mean, they're not super small, but they're like 9x9 or 10x10 or something
Loft
like
bed.
that. I was thinking about doing bunk beds. It depends on the like dynamic with the kids, but it's like I do need to be thinking about my plan if I lose that music room.
Right.
So that's a big thing I have to consider for like my music gear stuff as far as this goes right now, because I'm starting to make a little bit of a living doing the demo videos and doing other things surrounding the podcast. So I have 2 options outside of just making one of the kids sleep outside or something like that. I could convert the loft space that's upstairs,
right,
which is kind of a similar size, and we're just using it kind of like an art supply storage area right now,
right,
and other storage. So we would basically get rid of all that stuff or move it down into the garage or something like that, and I would convert that space into a recording studio type of area, and I'd have to put up some sort of fence to keep the kids out,
right,
because there'd be cables and pedals and stuff all over the place. And part of the downside to that is that when you're recording a demo and you're doing the talking parts, it's very awkward if there's other people in the house who can hear you, and you also need to close the door to keep family sounds out.
Right.
So that loft area is going to pick all that up.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be really embarrassing to say, hey, this is Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar podcast, over and over again, like I do. Like I say it like 30 times every time.
And
I
really
record a
what's
demo.
going to happen is, hey, this is Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum, the guitar podcast. And then it's going to be like,
Yeah, like hearing a kid freak out in the background. My other option is to completely change my garage.
Right.
Which is where we are right now. And as you can see, it's a typical Southern California garage that's just full of all our junk.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a table in here where we podcast at. And my thought was, I've got this wall over here with the surfboards on it. If I can figure out another way to store the surfboards, like maybe pick my favorites and mount them to the ceiling or something.
Right.
Then I can convert this wall into like my demo backdrop.
I mean, it would probably be pretty easy to just do ceiling mount with like, you'd have to figure out what kind of weight suspension you'd want to do. And I guess you'd have to go further back. But it's not like you're really worried about headspace in here. So you could build everything you needed with PVC.
Oh, sure. I know I could do it. I know how to hang surfboards from the ceiling. It's just not, it's already not like a big, like loft style garage. Like there's a room above the garage, so the ceiling's a little bit lower. And there's only a little bit of clearance between the top of the garage door. So it's like there's not as actually much space as you think there is for surfboards.
Right.
There's some, but not a lot. It's not as forgiving as you'd think. So I have some big decisions to make coming up here in the next year, I guess is the time frame I have. There's also the option of like, if I am making enough money doing this, then to rent a warehouse space somewhere and do it off site, which I'd honestly rather not do, because then I have to double a lot of my equipment, because a lot of this equipment I use for video gigs outside of doing all this.
Right. And unless it was like hyper local, which would probably could become expensive. Like
the closest like business area from here is still like 10 minutes away. And I don't know if I'd be able to find anything in that area that would function for what I need to do.
Yeah, you there's probably stuff either down in Serno Valley or down in Miramar that's just like single office space that you could probably convert to make work.
But I'm not making enough money for that to even be feasible right now.
Right.
And it's like then I have to, because I do a lot of back and forth, like recording, dropping cards, editing, then going back to record. I'd have to either bring a computer with me or have a second computer set up.
Yeah.
For it all to work. So it's all a big pain in the butt. So I've got things to think about, and it's an exciting time. I'm going to have another kid, you know?
Yeah, congratulations.
That changes things. Thank you, Steve. I'm going to sell naming rights to the Inner Circle. So go join the Inner Circle, and highest bid gets to name the kid.
It's really what the $25
it's going to be more than $25.
No, you gotta be in the $25 level just to gain access.
Okay. I see.
To the bidding process.
Well, should we jump into this first ad?
Yeah, this first ad was sent by David Luna. Why don't you tell us about it?
This is a Jaguar. I know that. It says beautiful Fender Jaguar Squire, $400 in Albuquerque. Just the craziest spelling. Like, you just looking at that word is hard to look at. Albuquerque. Is it even spelled right?
I believe
so. Yeah, Albuquerque. Brand new Fender Jaguar Squire with tortoise pickguard and Fender Mustang bridge modification. I purchased and played only to realize I am looking for a Dreadnought acoustic. Grab up this deal now before I simply return it to Guitar Center. Do you think it would be better for him to just return it?
I mean, if it's still within 45 days or whatever,
yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you just return it?
I wonder what he paid. Because can't you get these cheaper than $400?
I don't know.
It's got to be a vintage modified, right? It's a seafoam green with a red pickguard on it.
Yeah, it says it's got the Fender Mustang bridge, so you know it's slightly modified.
He might be past. No, if he was so mistaken in buying this, he's like, I think I really wanted an acoustic instead. There's no way he did these modifications. He went in and bought this thing on a whim.
I think he bought it and then he was like, "Oh, I'm not really working on this. What are some things that might make it better?" So he got the bridge modification.
So you think he did the modification?
Yeah.
Then I think he's past his 45-day by saying returning it to Guitar Center. He's talking about trading it in.
Yeah,
and he'd take a cut off of it, you know. It's just a funny idea to think about someone buying a pretty niche instrument. A
Yeah.
Jaguar is a pretty niche instrument with a very unique feel and playability to it.
So these are
And then just being like, I think I wanted an acoustic instead, and why did I buy this? It's an interesting mistake to make.
these are $400 new. This color model comes with a white pick guard.
Yeah, no, this is heavily modified. I mean, heavily in that it has a different bridge and different pick guard.
So yeah, I guess
I do like
good
that.
luck getting your $400. Maybe it's like,
Is it a classic vibe?
it's gotta be, or the vintage modified.
Oh, it's vintage modified?
But yeah, that's 400. That's the $400 model.
Yeah. It makes me feel even better about the one that I got for 300 with the Mastery. I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I've got nothing else to say about it. I just thought it was a funny situation.
I just think like before you buy something, maybe you should make sure you actually want it or have a contingency plan.
Have you ever done that? Like bought something and be like, I didn't mean to buy a hot dog. I was trying to buy colored pencils. Like something
Right. No, I mean, that's the
completely
thing. It's
different.
it's like, well, yeah, I went to the sandwich shop and I ordered soup when I really wanted like a sandwich.
Yeah, like why did I do this?
Like it's not even like they bought one thing when they wanted something like it's not like, oh, I got the hamburger when what I wanted was the bacon cheeseburger.
Right.
It's like you got the hot dog when what you wanted was like the sirloin steak.
It's like you tried to go buy a dog as a pet and you walked out of the pet store with a parrot. You know?
Yeah. No, that's exactly what it is.
I mean, there's all sorts of metaphors we could come up with.
I mean, I'm guessing what the guy's really saying is like I said, he got this, he tried it out for a while, it wasn't like doing it for him. So he's like, you know what, like really, I'm just a strummy guy. I want an acoustic guitar. I want something that like is simple. I don't have to plug it in. I don't have to deal with switches and knobs. And that's just what I want. But like the wording is just goofy.
You ever like meet someone who's like an established acoustic guitar player and they're like, yeah, I'm thinking about like getting acoustic. I'm getting an electric and getting into playing electric guitar. Like maybe you can like help me figure out like what stuff I need.
Yeah.
And you look at them and you're like, you're not an electric guitar player. Like you don't want to go down this road. It's not for you. Like maybe it's that type of person.
Yeah, dude. We've known a few of those people.
Yeah. Well, I know a few of them right now.
Yeah.
It's just like if you have gotten to this place in your life with the skill level that you have playing acoustic guitar, it's at this point you're an acoustic guitar player. That's your instrument. Like I can play acoustic guitar, but I'm not an acoustic guitar player. I'm very like squarely an electric guitarist at this point.
I just always think it's tricky because it's one of those things where it's like, do you really want to go down this road? And it's like people will come to me even with like electric guitar questions. Someone asked me the other day, like, "Oh, did you ever end up selling that Japanese Squire that you had?" I was like, "Yeah, I sold that like a year and a half ago, and did it or whatever." And like people will come to me because
if there was a shirt with your face on it, the caption would be "da da 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 whatever."
Yeah, I know. People will just come up and they'll be like, so I hear you have like a guitar podcast. I'm interested in buying this thing. And I'm just like, you need to narrow down your choices before you come to me with this question. And also you need to present like a budget and whatever. It's like, but you know what I mean? Like, do you ever get that where like are people like I got a couple guys at the church that will come up and look at my pedal board who are electric guitar players and they'll want to talk gear, but they're always like, how do you find all this stuff out? And I'm like, man, it's the internet. Like they're like, oh, you gotta like, we gotta sit down and like compare notes sometime. I'm like, that's not a trail you want to go down.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I don't even want to know what I know. Like I have the,
I've been trying to forget it all.
I've got the gear that I have and I'm happy with it, but, it's a little like overwhelming to, especially like in our position, I think, or for me, like it's more overwhelming because it's not just about like buying stuff that I want to use because I like the way it sounds anymore. Now it's like I bought this thing and I want to use it because it's cool.
Yeah.
Or because I like the person who makes it. Like there's all of these other factors. So people are like, how did you hear about such and such pedal? I'm like, I saw it on Instagram and I talked to the builder and I was like, this guy's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy this.
I want his cool thing he made.
So then I hit him up and I was like, hey, I really want this thing, but you had a sale on them like 2 weeks ago. I'll make like a quick like Facebook live
Oh my
video.
gosh.
How's that work? Like, and so they're like, oh yeah, no, I'll give you the sale price and like whatever promo you do is great. I'm like, cool. And it's just like now it's this overwhelming thing where now it's turned into like I got this thing, I really liked it, but I don't really have a use for it because I have like so many of the same pedal. But now I feel like I can't sell it because I got it on like a little bit of like a barter
Yeah.
deal. So it's like now what do I do?
Yeah, that's why I have like 40 pedals in the house right now. It's ridiculous. I don't actually have a count on them, but it's a lot.
Probably 40.
Yeah. Do we want to jump into the next topic?
Yeah, yeah. People have been excited about these. I've been seeing some chatter. It's the brand new Fender pedal lineup for 2018. We got a few pictures here. This isn't. I don't know if this is all of them.
Now, I'm going to try to find the prices for all of them because that's what I wanted to talk about is the prices of these Fender pedals.
But we've got the level set buffers, $99.99.
Mm-hmm.
The mirror image delay is $150. The marine layer reverb is $150. The pugilist is $100. The compressor is $130. It's called the Benz, and the Santa Ana overdrive pedal is $200. So that's that. I guess that's it.
Man,
Now we've talked about them. That's the end.
I'm trying to get
All the
to
prices are here.
Is the price on the mirror? Oh, they're at the top.
They're at the top over here.
Okay, yeah.
It's like a cut in half.
That's what I was trying to find. So when these were announced at NAMM, I knew the price of the pugilist. Pugilist.
Yeah.
I knew it was $99, and so I assumed like they were all going to be that price, or
Right.
under. I'm super surprised the buffer is $99.
Yeah.
And then to have the overdrive be twice as much as the pugilist distortion is crazy to me.
Well, it is it's like a 2-in-1.
But the pugilist is a two-sided distortion.
Right, but
Like,
you only get to
sele-
have one at a time.
You can't select between them, but it's like a parallel blending sort of thing.
Right.
So it's like it's two distortion circuits.
Yeah.
There's just an extra foot switch on the Santa Ana, on the overdrive.
Right.
And then I think the reverb and the delay are priced fair.
That's what I would expected them to come in around, because even if you're comparing to like the Boss DD7, you're looking at about $150.
But then the fact that the delay doesn't have tap tempo and it's $150 is a little bit off-putting.
Right.
Like I feel like that should have been $99
Mm.
to have a delay that doesn't have tap tempo. Like at this point in like guitar pedal market history or whatever you want to call it, like the Canyon exists from Electro Harmonics, where it's got a ton of options and it has tap tempo, and it's like $150 or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I think it's like 140 maybe.
Wait, which one?
The Canyon?
Oh, I'm not sure. I've never priced the Canyon.
I bought one. You think I know how much it is?
But yeah, I know it's got a bunch of things going on that one. 123 on reverb, 139. Oh, that's a used one. 139 on Sweetwater.
140. And the Canyon does so much. I mean, it's a different delay concept. Like there's different control switches and stuff like that and different parameters. But the Canyon still does so much for 140. I thought it was really promising having the pugilist come in at $99. Like I said, I thought everything else was going to come in around that price and cheaper. I don't know. I feel like maybe these are like MSRP, and like we're going to see them much cheaper once they hit, store shelves.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like they're kind of missing the mark with that price point on this. If you're not going to have tap tempo on it, and they have the ability, you can see with the double-sided overdrive, they have the ability to put 2 foot switches on this. They're totally wide enough. There's totally the space for it. They could have put a tap tempo on that really easily. I'm sure it's just a digital delay effect. Like, I'm sure the functionality is in there, and the person who designed it is like, are we going to use this? Are we going to put tap? And like the number crunchers were like, nah, it'll cost us $4 extra to do it, so we're not going to do it. I think if they had come to market with this at $175, but had tap tempo on it, I think it would make more sense.
Right. Well, I just think I don't understand why they couldn't do tap tempo like
As a jack too.
as a jack or whatever. Like it's just this thing, and it just seems a little out of step with what people seem to want.
Right. I think the price of the compressor is fine. 130. It's a good sounding compressor. It has a blend knob on it. I think it's going to be a good option for. I think all these pedals, honestly, for what they do and the sound quality that they have, they're a good option for anyone walking into a store off the street.
Yeah.
It's like the guy we were just talking about who doesn't have a pedal education and is looking to buy from a brand name that they know and trust. Like that is the target market for these. But for the pedal junkies and guys like us who know what's out there, I just feel like at the price point, some of these are a little bit underwhelming. I was excited for them, $99 and under, but I don't know.
Yeah. Some of them are kind of, I don't know, the price points are really interesting.
And they're also kind of a big box concept.
Yeah.
You have to really like what a pedal does these days to get a big box. I don't think it's really that huge of a deal personally. Like if I liked what one of these does, I'd put it on my board for sure. You can, squish stuff up together a little bit tighter, I guess, but some of them I feel don't need to be as big as they are. Like the delay and the reverb don't need to be that big.
Well, some of it is like the delay. It's like they wanted to do a bunch of things with it. So you've got a bunch of like, you've got time, depth, rate. So you got 5 knobs and then a 3-way switch for digital, analog, or tape. You've got a on-off for dotted 1/8, and you've got 2 variation modes. Which I'm not 100% sure what those. Each with 2. They're just different voicings. But it's like, oh geez, they even like. It even has the option to add a dotted 8th note for those Irish-inspired washes of sound.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I think we all kind of like know what that means, right?
Yeah. But what good is dotted 8th if there's not even tap tempo?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That it's kind of odd. It's kind of, there's things about it where like I'm with you. Like I don't really understand the box size. I feel like I'd have to see it like.
I thought they sounded good. I really enjoyed playing them
compared to other things. I still think even without the tap tempo, like this price is fine. It just would have been like next level,
right?
It would have made it, I think, a bigger impact on the market.
Made more sense.
It would have been more interesting.
I mean, these pedals are good, but I don't think, like I said earlier, I don't think they're pitching to the pedal junkie market. They're pushing to point of purchase sort of sales,
right?
Where it's like, oh, you're buying your first electric guitar and your first amp. You really should have a delay. Here's a line of pedals from the same people who made your guitar and your amp that you're buying.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thinking.
And in some ways, like I understand why you would want to,
and I think
take that approach. And in other ways, like I don't want to say it's a mistake. I think it'll play out fine, but I think
you still would have had that market, and you still could have like made something for the pedal junkie market. Yeah. Totally. Well, I think it's still a way better entry into the market than their competition pedals were. Do you remember those? Like the plastic ones with the stripes on them?
Those were not.
Those were a joke.
Those were. I'm glad they're making a serious, regardless of the prices. I'm glad they're making something that looks serious. That is definitely built to be quality.
They sound good. They sound really good. I really enjoyed, especially the distortion sounded just epic when I was playing it at the Fender booth. And I think the people who get them aren't going to be disappointed in the sound quality of them. But I think if they dive into pedals a little deeper, they'll be more interested in some modern offerings that have more options.
Right.
There's some good options on these. And it's kind of a unique layout with some of them as far as selecting different sounds and combining different options with it. So
here's a question I have.
Ask
maybe
me.
You know, maybe you don't. Is the Pugilist digital?
I don't know that.
They refer to it repeatedly as having dual gain engines. So they don't refer to it as a circuit. They refer to it as an engine, and that makes me think that it's like.
Huh.
That makes me like that type of language makes me think they're trying to like avoid saying digital.
Right. There's a
And
possibility.
that could be like why the price is so low. That's not, and you know, that's not good or bad.
Well,
it's just,
can we figure out how many milliamps it takes? Because if it's
no, because I don't see a link to the manual online. So, oh, there is a support.
let's solve this right now.
Manuals.
If it is digital, that's interesting because it didn't strike me as digital when I was playing with it. This is going to be really interesting to listen to. All this,
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The boost was the one that I was the most interested in actually out of this lineup.
The buffer, you mean?
Or it's like a buffer level set buffer, so it's a buffer boost.
Right.
But at that price point, I'm just kind of like, yeah,
there's got to be something else from like the DIY or small builder market that does the same thing.
Oh yeah,
but it is interesting that it has the tuner out. So it's like if you want to have a tuner that's always running, but you want to like bypass the buffer issues that happen with that. That's
cool.
A box that solves it. But then wouldn't it be better just to get a buffer mod to your VP Junior or something like that?
I mean, but if this is going to kill two birds with one stone because you need a boost and a buffer, I think that's the level set section of it.
Yeah. I guess that's true. So if you are using a boost, then I guess this kind of makes sense. Because you could buy, if you need a buffer, you could buy the cheapest buffer there is, probably for like $30 or something like that. And if you want to buy a boost, then it's, the cheapest boosts out there are like $50. And then you still don't have the functionality of connecting a tuner pedal to it. So it kind of comes out in the wash. It makes sense. And it's an attractive looking box that does sound good as a kind of a preampy sort of boost sort of situation. Do we want to tackle the next ad? Or do you have anything else to say about this?
I think that's all I got. They don't have manuals online yet. So, and if you try to look for Fender level set, it's just.
Do you think they'll come out with a manual around Christmas time? You think they'll come out with a manual?
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought.
That's my dad joke for the day.
I thought that's what you were trying to do.
All right, let's. This ad is going to be a complicated one. There's a lot to unpack here. ESP LTD EC -1000 FM. That is a long name description from ESP. And Bugera head and cab with free stuffs. $950. This was sent to us by Cedric Noah Boas?
Yeah.
Boas?
Something like that.
I think it's Boas. So this is an interesting package sort of deal that was on Craigslist, wherever he found it. He priced the lister priced everything out. He lists the ESP guitar, and it was really an LTD, which is like their Squire version. But they're still kind of like pricey stuff sometimes.
Yeah, the EC1000 is a pretty supposed to be a pretty well built guitar, so $870.
It's kind of your Les Paul style sort of guitar. Yeah. He's got it listed at $869, so it looks like he's pulling retail numbers. He's not just
these are all street too.
Yeah,
I think
the Bugera head is $249.99. The cab is $159.99, and so the total would be $1,278. And then he's throwing in a flight case pedal board style thing with a bunch of pedals in it.
Right.
So there is significant savings here based on his numbers. Oh, and there's a hard case.
For the guitar.
Yeah, for the guitar. I'm assuming the hard case is included. It's in the pictures. Yeah, the SKB hard shell case is included with the package. So I'm going to say that I think this is a fair price. I think it's an attractive price for anyone who wants this specific combination of gear. How do you feel about the price? And the pedal board is I think that's like a Nux delay pedal or something like that.
Yeah, it's a Donner White Wizard. It's basically probably similar to like whatever Nux does.
Yeah,
there's a Rogue analog delay. This is a weird mishmash.
A 78 distortion from MXR, the Sonic Stomp, and what looks like the Hendrix Crybaby.
Yeah,
because it's got the red push button on the side and the Q control. Yeah, it's an odd grab bag of pedals, but then at the core of it, you're getting a pretty attractive looking single cut guitar with a functional looking amp. I don't know anything about this amp
I
model.
think this price is like maybe I would say it's fair.
This is like a solid state little practice amp, right? It doesn't
I
look
don't think
big.
so. Bugera, I thought, at least unless something's changed, Bugera only makes tube amps.
Pretty affordable.
Yeah, what is it? $250? It's probably
He
like
doesn't give the model name.
it's probably like a 10 or like 15 watt head. It's got
It's G something.
it's got the dual switches. So I'm pretty sure that's a on and a standby switch. Oh yeah, you're living that iPad life over there. You can zoom in real far.
Bugera G something. G20?
I don't know, maybe.
I'm looking it up is what I'm doing.
So the Bugera
Looks
stuff,
about right.
Bugera is part of that whole Behringer family of amps. I've heard really mixed things. Some people really love them.
Yeah,
Some people kind of hate them, but
it's a tube
I
head.
can't tell if people hate them because they suck or if they hate them just because they're Behringer.
Right. It is an all tube head.
Yeah. So, and it's what was it like $250 new or whatever?
Yeah. I'm actually seeing him listed at like $299. So this guy is pricing stuff very fairly.
The real issue, like I said, is like if you want this combo, you want to do one-stop shop kind of a deal, this probably works out great. If you want to do something a little more customized to what you do,
Well, here's what I'm going to pitch for this package. This package makes sense if you want that guitar. You have to want this guitar for this to make sense, because then you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to pay $950 for this guitar, and then I have a pile of flip stuff.
yeah,
Because then you can flip, everything looks really clean. None of this looks damaged or roughed up. Then you can flip that amp with the cab. You could probably Craigslist it for $300 together, like same weekend,
right.
And then just selling the amp, you're already getting into the green with that guitar. Like the price point that you're hitting is way below what you should be paying for it. And then you've got all these extra pedals to sell. Let's call them all $50. So 100, 200, 250, include the case. We'll call it 275. So
That's very generous.
is that generous? 50 each?
Yeah. That analog delay is not worth more than like $20.
Let's call it 200 even.
Sure, maybe. Sure. That the wah is probably like $100. The Sonic Stomp's like $80. So I guess $70 from the other three. Like you can work that out.
Okay, let's call it 250 then.
Yeah.
Including the case. So throw in the case, and that's slow flipping, selling one pedal at a time. So 250 plus 300 is 550 that you're cutting off the top of your cost. Of
Yeah.
your
So
guitar
basically,
here.
that's what you'd have to do is decide like that you really
Which
want
means you're getting
something.
this guitar with this case for $400 in that
Right,
scenario.
but you can get that guitar with at least without a case for like $500.
Oh, can you?
Yeah, if it's $869 new,
For used, you're saying?
you can buy it used. Yeah, this looks like it's in pretty good shape, and like you said, it has a case, so you don't have to chase one down. I'm not seeing like a ton of these, but like there was a black one that sold like yesterday for $365.
Oh, damn.
Free shipping. So, and that was with I don't know.
Well,
Actually,
then that is garbage. I take it all back.
that's what I was saying. Like it's a good it's a good deal, I guess.
Well, not if you're
But
going to get this guitar for
It's a good
$350.
it's a good deal like if you want all of it and you don't want to like piece it all together. Or like if you can like push hard like
Well, now that I know that you can get the guitar for $350, I'm completely against it now. Like, don't buy this.
like yeah, so that's the whole thing. Is like, what did you price the amp and cab at?
I said like you could probably put it on Craigslist for $300 together.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
And that's like a same weekend kind of sale. You could probably sit on it longer if you wanted to and get a little bit more.
I would be surprised if you could get more than 300.
Sure. But it's like kind of like a disposable like impulse sort of buy at $300 for a tube amp with a cab. Is what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah. All right, now that I'm completely like soured on this ad, let's move on. I'm doing all the moving on lately. I'm telling us to keep
I
going.
know. Let's keep moving. This
Yeah.
next one is we're going to talk about. Somebody sent in a question. He says, basically is jazz based music the future?" That's the question.
Jazz
Jazz-based
oriented. When you first
music.
like posited this question to me, I thought you were saying jazz bass. And I
Yes.
was like, are you talking about playing bass in a jazz style, or are you talking about like the Fender jazz bass?
Is the Fender jazz bass the future of music?
Yes. Topic over.
Um,
Actually,
I
I
had
think
it up and then my phone reset.
I mean, it's obvious that extended scale stuff is popular right now, but I think it is popular for good reason. I think jazz basses and like longer scale guitars give a lot of range to individual players who are maybe recording at home and putting together their own compositions. Where it's like, oh, I don't really need a bass guitar. I'll just play the bass parts up here lower on my guitar, and I'll play the high parts over here, and it's more of like a complete like modern music tool.
I have no idea what that has to do with jazz bass.
It doesn't, but I started talking about it. So
Okay.
let's talk about
Found
the
the
actual
question.
topic.
Will jazz-based music be the next cultural zeitgeist? Is the guitar's most effective way of staying relevant? Is it the guitar's most effective way of staying relevant over the next 20 years? It says with players like Mateus Asado, Horace Bray, Emily Browning, Emily Kruger, Sam Blakelock,
Both
Coda,
Emily's.
and Julian Lodge getting so much attention on Instagram and YouTube, are they setting the stage for jazz to be relevant again and keep the guitar relevant as a lead instrument? Is the rise of neo soul, jazz rap, and the new jazz movement an indication of what to expect from radio music over the next 10 to 20 years as rap infiltrated rock and pop before exploding in the mainstream? This was sent by Caleb Neff. I think this is a pretty interesting question, if only because like I do listen to a bit of like what has been coined like alternative R&B,
Sure.
which is still like is very pop relevant and gets a very minimal airplay on like actual alternative stations, but does tend to have more like guitar influence. And I think to an extent the answer is yes, but I think what we're seeing more in terms of like radio music infiltration, you're not going to see I don't think you're going to see the same kind of crossover with this style of music that you see with like the rap influence.
Sure.
Where
it's not going to be the new like cornerstone, but it'll be a flavor.
Or even if it is, like even if it became like the popular style of music, because there are like these heavy jazz influence.
Well, I'd say that it could become a popular style of playing, but not necessarily like something that's in the forefront of like in people's minds as like the consumers of the music.
Right. And that's where I was going with that is I think like for the last 10 or so years, pop like crossover music has largely been in like a featured.
Right.
Like, I think we've seen featured artists more in the last like 10, 15 years than like ever before, at least in like mainstream music.
Yeah.
And I think what you could see is like some of that coming over with some of these artists, like, oh, featuring so and so. But until like the artists that were mentioned, like pick up, like you have to kind of be like dual threat. If you're just playing guitar, like you're just going to be a featured artist. And
Right.
even then, like you might just be like a studio session player. So that's good. That sound and the ability to play that sound and the fact that this type of playing is so popular on Instagram and YouTube and on these different formats could influence where mainstream radio music goes.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're going to end up with is that's going to be incorporated into like the bigger picture.
Sure.
Where it's still going to be like Rihanna featuring, DJ whatever such and such, and DJ whatever such and such is just going to hire these guys to
I bet
play.
there is a DJ called whatever such and such.
Yeah. Whatever.
It's a cool name. No, that's your DJ name.
DJ whatever.
Yeah, but DJ such and such whatever is a cool name too.
Yeah. That can be your name. We can have what we can do whatever night.
Yeah, DJ such and such and whatever.
Yeah.
Something I was gonna say, like my point on this is what I've noticed with like we definitely do have this scene of like guitar guys who are like Instagram guys and like I mean, what I'm trying to say is like YouTube guys. Is like people who are really good guitar players who get an audience on YouTube of other guitar players following them and just watching how good they are. And I'm seeing that scene of people leaning into these like kind of their throwback styles, but with their own kind of like modern neo twist on it, I guess. Like leaning on jazz and leaning on even like the gent stuff, leaning on really odd time signatures
Yeah.
and the whole thing. Like the young people these days that are coming up with new music and finding success through new, media outlets like YouTube are playing really complicated stuff, like really
Hmm.
heady stuff that our generation wasn't into. Like when we started playing guitar when we were that age, it was like you learned a Green Day song and you were stoked, 4 power chords.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, how many time signatures do you know, and how many can you fit in one song? And like, oh, you only have an 8 string. I've got a 12 string guitar, and not that kind of 12 string guitar. This thing's got bass strings on it. Like,
Yeah, there's definitely like a certain shift into, and maybe it's just availability of it visually. And we've talked about this before, like you said, like, you
and
know,
even guys like Mason Stoops who are playing conventional guitar, but like leaning on like this really like throwback, like finger picking sort of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. It's definitely like, I think going eventually will penetrate into like what we hear and what we think about in terms of like what's popular music. It's not just going to be like people's. There's always going to be room for like people smashing away at chords.
Oh, sure.
But even if you think about like um, some of the more recent alt like Black Keys kind of a sound, like there's a different or like I think of like the Black Keys or like the Arctic Monkeys, like there's a completely like different way of thinking about guitar going on
Right.
in those particular artists that make it interesting, I think.
Something I've really like been enjoying listening to the radio when I drive around a little bit that I do. I really like how soulful like alt rock is right now.
Hmm.
Like there's just like this really strong focus on deep soulful vocals
Right.
that I'm really enjoying, and then the background, the backing tracks behind them, the playing behind them is also leaning on kind of like retro inspired, vintage inspired kind of playing, like throwback stuff,
Hmm.
but done in like a modern take. It's not like like rockabilly revival where or like big band revival where it's like trying to reproduce
Right.
the exact music. It's like, hey, this person who's playing, they studied up on stuff that they liked from like 3 different genres and 3 different decades that were not related at all, and they kind of blended it together. But you can hear it in there, and you can pick it out.
Hmm.
I think that's really interesting, and I'm hearing a lot of very mature playing in like popular songs that are happening right now. It's not just someone slamming out power chords. It's very tasteful. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying it. And I was at a place in my life in the early 2000s where it's like, I hate all the new music coming out. Am I done? Am I done as a cultural
Right.
person? Am I never going to like popular music again? And I feel like if I had time these days, I would totally be into a lot of the music that's coming out now.
Mm.
I think there's cool stuff coming out, and it's a really neat thing to hear the experimentation that the musicians are doing, even in the radio stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all, things are always shifting. I think what we've said kind of before about electric guitar will hold true, that it's gonna, I don't think there's gonna be like a new guitar god anytime soon. I mean, I could be
if
completely
if
caught by
there
surprise.
if there is, it's not gonna. I mean, this is a prediction. You never know. It's not gonna be like Hendrix or Van Halen over again. Like, oh, there's this guy and he plays so fast and he plays these crazy notes and it's just like this big charismatic guitar thing. If there's a big guitar guy or girl, it's gonna be someone who is just the personality behind the music and happens to be a good guitarist.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
That makes sense. Yeah, I think and it's funny, like whenever I see this topic come up online, people start naming all of these artists, and I'm like, look, like the problem here with everyone that like almost everyone that ever gets named in like a modern guitar god
Sure.
thing is like, when's the last time that person had a song on the radio?
Right.
If they don't, then like I don't think that's.
It's like, I don't know if you can even judge it by that now. Like, I think we should listen when people who are connected to the culture right now tell us like this person is huge. We're not fully plugged in. We're getting older. We might not understand how huge they actually are.
Well, I think
like to our parents when we were teenagers, was Nirvana huge to them? Would they have believed that that was a huge band?
But what I mean is like, unless you're listening to public radio, like, do you ever hear Joe Bonamassa on the radio? That's what I mean. Like, whether or not
the media environment's not there anymore.
Right. Whether or not like Joe Bonamassa is a guitar god in comparison to like Van Halen or even like Slash, I think that can be like
the way you said Van Halen. Van Halen.
I think that can
like
be
you
like,
don't believe he exists.
Yeah. I think that can be like objectively measured. I think you can look at numbers and people will say like, well, the market's different and this is different and that's different, and I understand that, but that's, I think, kind of like the broader discussion is like you're talking about like cultural saturation of somebody's music or somebody's sound,
right?
Like beyond just
like if you
just something simple and straightforward.
If you were of age in like 1986, not knowing who Van Halen would be like not knowing what hamburgers are.
Right.
Like it's so ubiquitous that like everyone knows. People who don't listen know. And it's like a lot of these people that are big guitarists right now, the general public doesn't have much of an idea, but the guitar community does. Or like people who listen to that kind of music.
So that's what I mean. Like when people say, oh, here's all of these people, I'm like, okay, like this is cool that this person has, 300, 500K, whatever on YouTube.
Yeah.
And like, however many on Instagram,
even if it's
and
millions,
whatever.
Even if you have millions of followers on Facebook, you're still not as famous as Van Halen was in the 80s or Hendrix was in the beginning of the 70s.
Right.
Or Nirvana was in the 90s. Like you do not have that level of fame. Or like Michael Jackson. Like having 10 million followers on YouTube is not the same as Michael Jackson level fame in the late 80s.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of it. Like, it's the difference between, you have followers and your mom knows who that is because everyone knows who that is. I don't know.
No, I think that's a good take.
Yeah.
We got one last ad here before we call it a day.
Yeah, and it is a day. It's not the night.
Yeah, my wife's going to be real excited that I'm home for dinner.
I'm excited to just hang out and chill. I got to edit a little bit of video, but I'm going to be done.
This is a Boss XT2 distortion being sold by the Pedal Depot on Reverb. It is listed for $11,000.
Oh my gosh!
Plus $10 shipping.
That's Steve. I think $11,000 is too much for this pedal.
I agree. For collectors of rare Boss pedals, this was in production less than a year with less than 20,000 ever made. Due to its rarity, I feel that it's easily worth $11,000, if not the pink slip to your dad's '69 Camaro. What kind of Camaro is that?
It's a bitchin' Camaro.
All right. I don't actually feel that way and would accept offers at less than 1% of that, so you can justify your shopping addiction to your wife by showcasing what a hard bargain you drive. The comment on it says, quote, the XT2 is a love-or-hate type of distortion pedal. It's got a very hard-edged distortion that sounds a bit different from other Boss distortion pedals. The tone controls are called Contour and Punch, and it's not just a renaming of bass and treble. Contour cuts highs or boosts highs and lows, while Punch controls the distortion depth, then adds a mid-boost. Anyone tired of the conventional distortion sounds might like the XT2.
Yeah, I don't have any comments on the sound of this thing other than I vaguely remember playing it way back in the day at Guitar Center and it just being a nasty, nasty mess. Like high gain, like nasal filtery sort of stuff that some people love, but I wasn't into it. Anyways, I just thought this guy's pricing structure was fun. He's on Reverb. Having this pedal listed at $11,000 is going to get attention from people. And then it's going to make them do math because they're going to be like, wait, what is 1%? Because he said he'll take under 1%. What does that mean? It means $110.
Yeah.
So he's priced relatively fairly, and he's saying he'll take under that. I'm guessing he probably wants to clear like $90 on this thing.
Yeah. Plus $10.01 shipping.
What is the normal price for these? Price value 45 to 85. Thanks,
yeah,
Reverb.
It's in the corner.
So maybe he's hoping to get just under 85 or something.
This has gotten 5 offers.
Yeah, people are trying to figure out where he wants.
So
people are probably going to start real low. They're probably doing 50.
Well, and you know, that is the one thing that is always like frustrating when you put like a crazy price like this is people are going to be like 1%. What is that, like $20?
Yeah. People bad at math.
I'll give you $20.
I mean, the price guide is there. I would go off the price guide. I wouldn't give this guy $110 for this thing. But I mean, you have to be fair. You have to realize that only 20,000 of these things were made.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 20,000 in circulation, and it's a very unpopular pedal. So it's like it shouldn't be more than about $65, honestly, in my opinion. But I just thought it was a fun ad. I thought it was a fun take on things. If this sells, it's gonna screw up the numbers on Reverb. Well, they're gonna be like, this thing sold, and it was like 900% off.
Yeah. You're gonna go in the recent transactions on the price guide. It's gonna say like listed $11,000, sold $70.
I'll be surprised if he can get $70 for it. I kind of want to try it now, though. I don't want to $70 try it, but I think I would $45 try this if I saw it locally. If I saw it at the swap meet or something like that, or a pawn shop, I'd pick it up for $45 just for a laugh.
Okay.
Yeah. Do we have anything we want to close with? Do we want to thank our sponsor?
Yeah, let's thank our sponsor, Sinusoid. If you're looking for a power cable or speaker cable, don't forget Sinusoid. They do those too.
The Sasquatch cable is huge. It's beefy.
Yeah, so head on over to sinusoid.com to check that out. Sinusoid Pro Audio Couture, they make cables.
And they're going to make you think there's a snake behind you. Look out!
All right, this week's song was sent by Tyson Brinacombe. It's a cover of Daniel Johnston's Walking the Cow. He says the acoustic is a Gibson J35 recorded with a Rode NT5 dead center and the saddle pickup going to a fairly cracked deluxe reverb. I wonder if that was supposed to say cranked. I don't know. We'll find out if it's distorted or not. I forget what I used.
It's going to sound like an amp cracked in half.
I forget what I used for the lead, but it was run into a whammy and then a sub-decay octosynth. The bass is a trusty Squire 6. All my stuff is up for pay what you can, I think is what PWYC stands for. Download at tysonmakesmusic.bandcamp.com. So I hope you guys enjoy this song as much as we enjoy making this podcast.
Yeah. Later, guys.
Bye.
Trying to remember, but my feelings can't know for sure. Try to reach out, but it's gone. Like the stars in your eyes, I am walking the I really don't know how I came here. I really don't know why I'm staying here. Oh, I am walking the cow. I try and point my finger, but the world keeps spinning me round in circles, like the stars in your